Welcome back, girls. It is now time to think about our fantastic women topic. So far we have learnt about the famous pilot Amelia Earhart, then we learnt about the famous scientist Marie Curie, and then of course we spoke about the lady with the lamp, Florence Nightingale. So today we are going to learn about our next fantastic woman. Let me give you some clues and see if you can guess who she is. She was a famous author, so she's someone who wrote books. She wrote lots of books, really for grown-ups, not really books for children. One of her books is called Rebecca. And this is my absolute favourite clue. Can you believe it? But this fantastic woman was actually a student at our school, St. Margaret's. Yes, she went to our school. Can you guess who it is? It is Daphne Du Maurier, of course. Now, let me read you a little bit of more information about her, so make sure you're sitting nice and comfortably. Daphne Du Maurier. Daphne Du Maurier was an English author, which we know means someone who writes books. She was born on the 13th of May, 1907. Her books were called romantic books, which means they were based on a love story, although there would always be a surprise twist in the end. In all of Daphne Du Maurier's books, the main characters were always women. Her books are really for grown-ups, like Rebecca, My Cousin Rachel, and Jamaica Inn. So those are the names of her books. She wrote a book called Jamaica Inn, which you can see here, and another book called Rebecca, and another book called My Cousin Rachel, and she wrote many more too. Daphne Du Maurier spent most of her life in Cornwall, which is in England, and is where most of her books are set. So maybe you would like to find where Cornwall is on a map of England and see how far it is from London. Her parents, so Daphne Du Maurier's mum and dad, her dad was the actor Gerald Du Maurier, and her mum was the actress Muriel Beaumont. Daphne Du Maurier wrote a biography on her dad, Gerald. So a biography is when you write about somebody else's life. Her grandfather was also famous. He was a cartoonist and a writer called George Du Maurier. So a cartoonist is someone who draws pictures of cartoons, which is very exciting. And his name was George Du Maurier. So Daphne Du Maurier, she was actually born in our city in London. And she had two sisters. Her older sister was Angela Du Maurier, also became a writer or an author. And her younger sister, Jean, was a painter. And here you will have this information too. You can see some photos of her family as well. Daphne Du Maurier's very first book or novel, which is another word for storybook, it was called The Loving Spirit, and she wrote it when she was 24 years old. We know Daphne Du Maurier wrote novels. She wrote non-fiction or information books, and she even wrote biographies. She also wrote plays. Her very famous book, Rebecca, which is this book that we have here, it was made into a play. She also wrote other plays, including September Tide. Another interesting fact about Daphne Du Maurier is that she married a man called Frederick Browning in 1932, and they had 3 children. Daphne Du Maurier truly was a fantastic author, and many people, even today, enjoy reading her books. And I do too, and I have 2 of her books, and I've read many more of them, and I really enjoy reading her books. So maybe when you're a little bit older, you would like to borrow some of her books from the library as well, and you will enjoy reading them too. So we'll finish off with our exciting fact about Daphne Du Maurier. Did you know that Daphne Du Maurier was a student at St. Margaret's School? I can't believe that. That is so exciting. So in our school, Daphne Du Maurier, she was a student or a pupil there as well a long time ago. How interesting. Great. Now we are going to write the next page of our information book, which of course is going to be all about this fantastic author, Daphne Du Maurier. And if you are in Du Maurier house like me, you will be even more excited to be learning and writing about Daphne Du Maurier. So this will be the 4th page of our information book. So make sure you write page number 4 on it, and then you are going to write your sentences. So let's have a practice and see if we can write a sentence together. Let me move these. Okay, so I have made a little word bank here with some words to help me to write my sentence. I've written the word author, I've written the word school, and I have written the word wrote. So I could use those for my sentences, or I can think of my own sentences too. So I think I'm going to write the sentence: Daphne Du Maurier was an author. Daphne Du Maurier was an author. So my sentence has 6 words. Now, to write Daphne Du Maurier, I've written a title already here, so I know that I can use that to help me. So I'm going to start neatly at the beginning of the line, and I can copy that out, thinking carefully about my letters, making sure they're sitting neatly on the line. Daphne, finger space, and Du. Don't think Maurier will fit there, so I'm going to write it here. Du Maurier. Daphne Du Maurier was. So we know was is one of our tricky words. So we can leave the finger space, or you can just use your eyes to leave a space. So I'll use my finger first. Was. You know that's one of our tricky words. Was. Don't think there's any space left there, so I'll start on my new line. Was an. Was an. We're going to write author. So do you remember I told you that I have some words in my word bank at the bottom, because they're words that we haven't really learnt to write yet, and they can be quite tricky for us. So it's helpful to have them there as little sort of prompts in our writing. So we're going to write author. So author, it's not sure, or author. So it can't be this word, because this word starts with S. And it can't be this word because it starts with W. So it must be this word that says author. So let's have a little look. This time I'll use my eyes to leave a space. Is that a good space? Oh, I think that's too much. What about here? Oh, no. Around here I would say is a good finger space. Author. So I can use that. And I was using the word written in my word bank at the bottom there to help me. So let me check my sentence. Daphne Du Maurier was an author. So I can put a full stop at the end of my sentence. And this was just a small sentence, and I know, girls, that you'll be able to think of many more interesting sentences. You might want to write that she went to our school. You might want to write that Daphne Du Maurier wrote many interesting books, and you could even see if you can remember some of the names of her books too. I think you have learnt a lot about Daphne Du Maurier now. And of course, once you have done your writing, you can draw an interesting picture. Make it super interesting for your information book. So when someone comes to read your information book, they will have lots of interesting facts to learn about this fantastic woman, this fantastic author, Daphne Du Maurier. I can't wait to read all of your information pages. So make sure you work hard, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.